Hi, Capricorn Sun and Rising. Welcome to your September 2024 Astro Update. It's Rena here. Ooh, we have a lot going on in September. Not only do we have the equinox, but we have the first lunar eclipse in Pisces and just a lot of important transits, more than I would say like in August. But let's just start from the beginning, because on the 1st, I mean, it doesn't even waste any time, Pluto goes back into your sign. So you had to deal with Pluto in Capricorn for 15 years. And that's why it's like 15 years-ish, because it has gone back a couple of times. But this is the last time that it's going back in your lifetime. So I want you to pay attention to this, being that you are either Sun in Capricorn or this is your ascendant. Because, this isn't just like some kind of random transit. This that happens to be in your sign. This is something that is a generational influence, and you will never have it again. And so, not everybody has Pluto going through the same sign as their sun or rising sign. So even if it feels a little bit intense and, being in the first house, and maybe it hasn't been a trip to the beach the whole time, there might be some things that you really appreciate when you have enough time to look back and say, wow, yeah, those years from 2008 until 2024, that was a great time of transformation for me. And it wasn't, all that pleasant sometimes, but it was definitely a time when I made great strides. Pluto can be about power. It can be about healing, and also kind of like with that healing, bringing up stuff to be released. And so I would say when Pluto is in the first house, that you are looking at your own stuff. You're not looking at the outer world and how it is maybe forcing you to transform yourself, but you're doing it for yourself because it's in retrograde motion. So there's like that sense of reflecting, kind of going within. And, part of Pluto being about power is like, how do we give away our power sometimes? It's easy to see people in our life that are very power hungry, and maybe if we have been the victim of abuse of some of these people who have tried to kind of dominate or what have you, but sometimes it's also an inside job, and it's something that we have to look at within ourselves. So the next couple of months, keep that in mind as Pluto goes back into your first house. It goes without saying that this is a general reading, so it's not necessarily going to go back into your first house. It may stay in your first house the whole time. And so whatever, it's going to go in, it'll eventually go into your second house, so you don't have to worry about that. But anyway, on the same day, Uranus goes retrograde itself into it's going retrograde at 27 degrees of Taurus. So this is earthy energy. And there's a lot of earthy energy this month with all three earth signs, which is pretty cool. So for you, this is the 5th house. Oh, that's pretty cool. The 5th house is the house of love and creativity. First and foremost, it's also about, the fun stuff that we do. Of course, Capricorn, are you all work and no play? That's the real question. Um, I believe sometimes that when people have Uranus transiting the fifth house, if they are looking for love, this could be a really great time to meet someone, maybe even like a soulmate, where you're on the same wavelength, which I would associate with Uranus. And it happens seemingly very randomly. Like you meet them in the produce aisle or something like that. Not something where you're necessarily dating online, although Uranus is technology, so I suppose it could be that. But now that Uranus is retrograde, there might be some kind of, again, because this is, we're looking at the retrograde influence, where you are reflecting on this internally, because Uranus in the fifth house can actually influence people to be more freedom loving. And this can work different ways. I mean, you could currently be in a marriage and you realize that love is free, that nobody owns anybody else. And so maybe, I don't think of like Capricorns as particularly possessive, but let's say you have the moon in Taurus or something, and or Scorpio, and you tend to be, it's easy for you to be jealous or possessive, controlling, that you kind of make that connection between love and freedom. And that could be a good thing. But even if you're single, this idea of, I can just play the field. I don't have to actually settle down. I can just enjoy somebody's company. Maybe it's like even platonically, somebody that you normally might be very attracted to, that you refuse to, because Uranus rules Aquarius, and Aquarius can be like kind of that platonic type of friendship. Aquarius is connected to friendship. And the great thing about that is that, to me, is actually more important than this concept of love. I know that people are going to think that's strange, but I think a lot of people understand what I mean when I say I think liking someone is more important than loving them, because liking them means you want to spend time with them. You really like their personality and stuff like that. And love is something that, it can have a lot of misconceptions and hidden demands, which is the opposite of freedom. Even if you love someone, does that mean that they have to do your bidding? That's kind of where I'm going with that. So kind of exploration of that, but from an internal level, like, are you the type of person that believes in freedom? Are you expecting other people to grant you freedom, but you won't do the same? And maybe you see inside yourself, like, where you look at love as kind of this demand or whatever, how some people do. And you free yourself. You're able to free yourself. On the second new moon at 11 degrees of Virgo. So this is in the 9th house. So these Virgo transits are in the 9th, which is Sagittarius' domain in astrology. And it really speaks to things connected to expansion, to the higher mind, to, the God presence in life. In a more conventional sense, I would say, in the 9th house versus the 8th or the 12th houses. But still. And so for some people, this may involve new developments if you're planning to travel for some reason. It might be for pleasure, but it could easily be for work or for a future place that you wish to live in. Maybe you've decided to get out of your current location. This can be anything that expands you in some way, a new development with that. On the 4th, Mars goes into Cancer, your opposite sign, therefore the opposite house, which is the 7th house of committed partnership. Now, Mars has not been in Cancer, has not entered Cancer since the end of March of 2023. So we're talking about a good year and a half. Well, a little bit less than that, I suppose. It's more like a year and 5 months plus. But that's a long time because Mars is an inner planet. But Mars is going to actually retrograde in the next sign over in Leo in December. So when a planet is going retrograde, it has that shadow period beforehand where it starts to slow down. And this isn't like officially the official shadow, but it's getting to that point. Mars is pretty fast moving, and it is, you can tell that it's not moving and progressing as fast as it normally is. So in your case, that's in the 7th house of committed partnership. Mars, and it's also the house of legal affairs. So Mars can be a fight. So some of you may be starting a divorce proceedings or something to do with a will or whatever, anything to do with a legal matter. And this is when it gets initiated. In the United States, this is after Labor Day, which is a holiday at the beginning of the first Monday of every September. And that is the official end of summer in the United States. So that's when business gets back to usual, is after Labor Day. That's kind of the marker. So this is when that is happening. And maybe, everything was held off until then. Or if you are having some kind of other type of legal matter, this might be when it starts to heat up. If you are coupled but you are not having any problems with that person, Mars here could ignite you as a couple. It could be more sex, it could be sexier. Mars can be the libido, so it can be like that physical, very lusty. It could be simply that you're starting to exercise together. There's a physicality to Mars. Maybe if you are taking a long trip or a faraway trip, this person's coming with you and you're going to, spend time hiking or roaming around together as a couple. On the 9th, Mercury goes into Virgo. So, again, when we're talking about this 9th house, this can be this is where the retrograde happens. So perhaps this is a long time coming where, well, I shouldn't say that long time, Mercury retrograded back in August. It wasn't, a little bit over a month after it goes back into Virgo. But if there was some snafu that caused you to postpone a trip, it will go back into Virgo on the 9th, and then on the 12th it will come out of its shadow. So that's when it's considered fully resolved and moving fully forward. On the 19th, we have a lunar eclipse at 25 degrees of Pisces. For Capricorn individuals, this is the 3rd house. This is the house of the mind, not the higher mind, the mundane mind that deals with practical matters, but also just the mind itself and what it is capable of, allowing, just like kind of like a general house for the mind. A lunar eclipse here can be like a spiritual download, and that could be very important information for you at this time, especially if it ignites a spiritual awakening for some Capricorn people. This can be, I would say even like a revelation of some sort, like a eureka moment. A lunar eclipse in the third house can be, coming up with a great idea for some kind of, maybe a writing project. But the third house is also social media. So if you are somebody who participates in social media, maybe you go viral. You become more seen by others in the social landscape. On the 22nd, also, by the way, if there's any kind of like trouble with siblings, this could be, washing your hands of them. Now, remember, I said that, you might be dealing with a will with Mars in the 7th house. And if that's the case, that may have some kind of repercussions as it pertains to brothers or sisters if they are not behaving in a way that is that you consider appropriate. You might just say, I'm done with this. And it's not because you hate them. It's because you realize that trying to have a relationship with them just doesn't make any sense. They're just not in alignment with you in terms of like where you're at. And it becomes easier, in other words, to kind of decide who is going to be in and out of your life when you have that lunar eclipse there, because it helps you to let go very easily. Whereas normally you might just hold on just because they're family or whatnot. On the 22nd, the sun goes into Libra. So that's your career sector. And so that's the house that you rule, Capricorn. And Venus goes into Scorpio. So Venus goes into the 11th house. This is the house of gains. So that can be very good for your finances. The house of gains in your career or your business. And also you could find love through your social network. Sun in the 10th, this is going to set up that solar eclipse on October 2nd. And you might even feel the effects of that eclipse in September. So you might even have that kind of eclipse energy where that is very fortunate for you and happening actually in September and not October. So who knows? Maybe that has some connection to the lunar eclipse in the third house. The third house can be like business matters. So lunar eclipse could be, the typical full moon can be fruition. This could be fruition on steroids. On the 26th, Mercury goes into Libra. So Mercury's in that 10th house. This might be public speaking, something where you're, this is the top of the chart. So this gives prominence to some people who are speaking in a very outward kind of way. Like your words can really pack a lot of punch, because you have a lunar eclipse just how many days? 9 days earlier in the house that Mercury rules, the third house. And then you have Mercury in the 10th house. So if you have gained some kind of stature through social media where you are able to influence other people. Your thoughts influencing other people, or at least reaching them. That might be the case. You could be speaking to people in positions of authority, and that's also a possibility. So there you have it, Capricorn. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a personal reading, I have my deep dive readings, an hour of natal chart analysis, an hour of transits for the upcoming year for a special price. And I have career readings, love readings, yada, yada. You can find out more information at the link below. Thanks for listening. Bye.